You don't even think about it anymore. Your hand reaches, your thumb swipes, your eyes lock onto the screen before your brain even knows why. You say, "I'll just check one thing." But 45 minutes vanish, and you don't even remember what you saw. This isn't an accident. This is design. Aldous Huxley warned us, the mind that constantly seeks distraction is a mind trying to avoid something. And now we're living in the world he feared, not a world ruled by force, but a world ruled by stimulation, not censorship, but overload. Your phone isn't just a tool anymore, it's an interface to your brain, and worse, it's starting to think for you. Notifications, algorithms, infinite scroll, they're not neutral, they're engineered. Every swipe is tracked, every pause is calculated, every like, every video, every just one more moment feeds the system. And the system's goal isn't to inform you, it's not to connect you, it's to keep you hooked. Dopamine isn't just a buzzword, it's currency. The platforms that hijack your attention most effectively win. And you lose your time, your focus, your sense of presence, your sense of self. Because every time you reach for your phone when you're bored, tired, anxious, lonely, you're training your brain to escape reality. You're not solving discomfort, you're sedating it. And slowly, silently, you lose your capacity to sit with silence. Think about it. When was the last time you went a full hour, no screen? When was the last time you felt bored? And just let yourself be bored. That state, boredom, isn't the enemy. It's the birthplace of creativity, of reflection, of depth. But your phone doesn't want depth. It wants repeat behavior. It doesn't care if you're wiser, healthier, more whole. It cares that you keep tapping, that you stay online, that you forget what it feels like to think for yourself. Huxley's greatest fear wasn't that we'd be controlled by external tyrants. It was that we'd love our distractions, that we'd become addicted to the very things making us passive, detached, emotionally numb. And now, look around. We're more connected than ever, but lonelier than ever. We can access all the world's knowledge, but can't focus for more than 20 seconds. We're scrolling through thousands of lives, but forgetting to live our own. This isn't your fault, but it is your responsibility, because if you don't reclaim your mind, someone else will program it for you. Let's be honest, it's not just the phone, it's what the phone represents. It's an escape hatch, always ready, from boredom, from stress, from discomfort, from life. But every time you run to your screen instead of sitting with your feelings, you're weakening your ability to process reality. And slowly, without even noticing, you outsource your emotional regulation to a machine. You scroll when you're anxious. You scroll when you're lonely. You scroll when you're supposed to be working, resting, thinking, connecting. And the scariest part, you don't even choose to do it. You just do. That's not freedom. That's a habit loop. One engineered by companies who profit off your numbness. Huxley didn't believe humans would be destroyed by pain. He believed we'd be destroyed by pleasure, the kind that numbs us just enough to stop asking questions. He said, we become so inundated with stimuli that the truth drowns in a sea of irrelevance. That's what's happening now. You're not running from meaning. You're drowning in triviality. You're hit with 500 pieces of content a day. But how many make you feel something real? How many linger in your memory 24 hours later? Very few. Because you're not designed to consume this much. Your brain isn't wired for constant novelty. It's wired for pattern, for rhythm, for reflection. But dopamine doesn't care about that. Dopamine just wants the next hit, the next scroll, the next reel, the next notification. And the worst part, each one rewires your brain. Not dramatically, just a little, just enough to reduce your tolerance for stillness, just enough to make silence feel threatening, just enough to make the present moment feel boring unless it's filtered, liked, and shared. And so the real cost isn't your time, it's your depth. Because while you're watching the world through your screen, life is happening in the gaps between notifications. moments of quiet connection, moments of insight, moments where your soul speaks, if you're still enough to listen. But we rarely get still anymore, because we fear what we might find in the silence. What if we realize we're not okay? What if we realize we've been chasing the wrong things? What if the noise is the only thing keeping us from breaking? Huxley would say, "Good, let it break. Let the silence reveal the truth." Because truth doesn't scream through your screen. It whispers in the stillness you've been avoiding. And when you finally pause long enough to hear it, you might remember what it means to be human. Think back, before the algorithms, before the endless feeds, before the world lived in your pocket. How did you feel boredom? You stared out windows. You sat in silence. You wandered through your thoughts. You were present, even when nothing was happening. Now, even 3 seconds in line at a cafe feels unbearable without a screen. Every pause must be filled. Every gap must be plugged. Every silence must be erased. But here's what no one tells you. Your mind needs those pauses. Your soul lives in those gaps. Because presence isn't found in the highlights. It's found in the stillness most of us now avoid. Huxley understood this deeply. He saw that in an overstimulated world, the enemy of awareness is not pain, it's distraction. And that distraction isn't neutral. Every time you scroll without intention, you're telling your brain, avoid discomfort at all costs. But discomfort is where growth lives. It's where clarity lives. It's where truth speaks. And every time you silence that discomfort with your phone, you postpone your evolution. You train yourself to avoid reflection, to avoid intimacy, to avoid life. And when you do that long enough, your nervous system forgets how to feel safe without stimulation. That's the real addiction, not to the phone itself, but to the feeling of being temporarily distracted from yourself. And that's why you feel anxious when you put it down. That's why silence feels loud. That's why reality feels flat. Because you've been living in a world of enhanced color, enhanced sound, enhanced dopamine. But life isn't always like that. It's raw, it's nuanced, it's slower. And when your mind's been hijacked by constant novelty, reality starts to feel dull. But the dullness isn't in life, it's in your overstimulated brain. And here's the twist. The more you chase stimulation, the less pleasure you actually feel. Because your baseline keeps rising and your sensitivity keeps shrinking. You need more, but enjoy less. That's the cost of digital addiction, and no one profits from your healing, only from your distraction. If this wakes something up in you, consider subscribing to Depthora and turning on notifications so we can stay connected beyond the scroll. So how do you break the cycle? How do you reclaim your mind? When every platform, every ping, every piece of your digital world is designed to keep you plugged in. It starts with one word: interruption. Not quitting, not deleting your life, but interrupting the pattern. Just long enough to remember you have a choice. Because here's what no one tells you. You don't need to be at the mercy of your impulses. You're not a slave to your phone. You're just out of practice. You've forgotten what it feels like to sit in stillness, to read without checking, to walk without earbuds, to eat without watching something. You've forgotten what it feels like to think your own thoughts, unfiltered, unscrolled, undistracted. And that's okay, because you can return. Start small. The next time you feel the itch to check your phone, pause. Don't shame yourself, just notice it. Notice the tension, notice the need, notice what your body thinks it's escaping from. That moment of awareness, that's the first break in the chain. Then do it again, and with every conscious pause, you weaken the neural loop that says, stimulate or suffer. You teach your brain to stay present, to build tolerance for quiet, to remember that peace doesn't come from dopamine, it comes from depth. Huxley believed we could resist the mechanisms of manipulation, but only if we built an inner life strong enough to withstand outer noise. That's your job now. Build that inner life. Read slowly. Sit in silence. Write your thoughts instead of tweeting them. Talk to someone face to face instead of liking their stories. Reclaim your senses. Reclaim your time. Reclaim your mind. Because when you do, something incredible happens. The noise gets quieter. Your thoughts get clearer. Your anxiety softens. And reality starts to feel alive again. Not because it changed, but because you finally came back to it. You stopped numbing. You started noticing. And in that noticing, you begin to heal the fracture inside, the one created by constant distraction. You stop needing the scroll to feel okay. You stop needing validation to feel seen. You stop needing novelty to feel alive, because presence becomes enough again. And presence doesn't sell ads, but it saves lives, yours. Silence. It used to be a part of life. Now it feels like a threat. But silence is not emptiness. It's not punishment. It's not absence. Silence is the place where your real self waits. That quiet voice inside you, the one you keep ignoring. It doesn't scream. It whispers, and you can only hear it when the notifications stop, when the feed fades, when the noise dissolves. That voice knows what you want, what you fear, what you've been avoiding by reaching for your phone every 10 minutes. But here's the hard truth, the one Huxley understood long before iPhones and screens. We are addicted to our own avoidance. We fear our inner world more than the chaos outside. So we fill every space, every pause, every breath. But when you unplug, truly unplug, you meet yourself again. At first, that meeting might feel awkward, uncomfortable, even painful, because without distractions, everything comes up. Your loneliness, your shame, your old wounds, your forgotten dreams. But don't run. Stay. Sit with what shows up. That's where your real work begins. Carl Jung said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But you can't become if you're always running. You have to feel. You have to listen. You have to face yourself in the mirror of stillness, without filters, without feeds, without noise. Because what's waiting for you beneath the distraction isn't weakness, it's power. The power to choose your focus, to guard your time, to rebuild your attention span, to live on your terms, not the algorithms. And when you reclaim that power, you stop consuming life. You start experiencing it. You walk through the world with your eyes actually open. You start hearing people instead of just replying. You start noticing sunsets instead of photographing them. You start feeling again, not just reacting. That's presence. That's awakening. That's freedom. But it begins where distraction ends. And yes, it will feel strange at first, because your brain's been trained to crave chaos. But if you keep choosing stillness, if you keep interrupting the scroll, you'll remember something profound. You are not your screen time. You are not your productivity. You are not your online persona. You are a conscious being, capable of depth, awareness, and attention. And when you take that attention back, everything changes. Here's what Huxley feared most. Not that we'd be controlled by a tyrant, but that we'd become passive in the face of pleasure, that we'd slowly give up our agency, not out of fear, but out of comfort, that we'd stop asking questions because the answers might disrupt our dopamine flow. And now we're here, not enslaved by force, but distracted into submission. But what if you stop? What if today is the day you take your mind back? Not with a dramatic gesture, not with guilt, but with awareness. You start by pausing, just long enough to notice, to choose. Choose silence over scrolling. Choose attention over reaction. Choose presence over performance. Because every time you choose awareness, you rebuild something sacred, your attention span, your ability to sit with a thought until it forms into meaning, your ability to follow a feeling until it leads to clarity, your ability to witness your own life, moment by moment, without needing to capture it for anyone else. That's your birthright. Not just to exist, but to be here. And once you taste that depth again, the scroll starts to lose its flavor. Because no amount of likes can replace a moment of real peace. No viral video can replace the power of being undistracted in your own mind. This isn't about deleting your apps. It's about returning to yourself. The version of you that's not hijacked, not fractured, not reacting to every ping, every trend, every highlight, but grounded, present, alive. Aldous Huxley warned us, in a world of distraction, the man who can focus becomes dangerous. So become dangerous, not with aggression, but with presence, not with outrage, but with clarity, not with noise, but with silence, because silence is where your voice gets louder, where your purpose becomes sharper, where your life starts to feel like yours again. You don't have to run from tech, but don't let it run you. Don't mistake constant connection for true meaning. And don't forget, the most powerful thing you can do in a distracted world is pay attention.